Hi there, my name is Melissa Ashley and welcome back to my channel. I wanted to talk about when I caught coronavirus and what happened to me and how it affected me. Obviously there's a lot of us at the moment who are in lockdown, in quarantine, a bit scared to go out. I know that I am. After experiencing coronavirus, it has absolutely given me a completely different perspective on what's actually happening in the world, and that's why I kind of wanted to share my story with you guys. We started hearing news about this virus in China sort of way back at the end of January. It was almost around Chinese New Year. It was already kind of scary, the kind of numbers that it was affecting. However, I think a lot of people kind of dismissed it, and it was that little bit of that, well, it's not happening to us attitude. How wrong we all were. In this video, I'm not going to get political. I'm not going to talk about the way any governments have handled this situation. We all have our own points of view on that. I'm just going to talk to you about my story. Grab a drink. I've got my water because I'm trying to be healthy still. I'm doing a health journey at the moment. If you caught my video in January, you'll know. My birthday was the 17th of March, and Scott and I actually had gone away the evening before, and the hotel that we were staying in were being very conscious about the cleanliness of the place. This was already the start of singing happy birthday while you wash your hands and all those kinds of messages that were coming out initially. We stayed at the hotel, and then the next day, which was my birthday, Tuesday the 17th of March, we went to Bourse-on-the-Water for a day and did all the touristy kind of attractions and things there. On the way home, we stopped at a supermarket and I got a phone call from my boss basically saying that we were closing the offices and I was to work from home. I had my work laptop with me. The next day I would be working from home. And I guess even then, the kind of like the severity of the situation still wasn't even kind of hitting home. The next couple of days, which was the Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, I worked from home and I started getting phone calls from the hospital about my medical appointments regarding my Ehlers-Danlos syndrome and my ME and those kinds of things. They were all starting to be changed to maybe phone appointments and rescheduling and all these kinds of things. Then came the weekend. We were sitting in the lounge Sunday evening and I just suddenly coughed like that, and it felt like someone had got a red hot poker and just pushed it through me and right out the back. The pain of my lung when I coughed, and then I coughed again and I coughed again and I coughed, and each time I coughed it was like this crazy stabbing sensation. It was so painful and I developed a wheeze. Now, I had childhood asthma, but I grew out of that many years ago, and I, touch wood, had never had any other breathing problems, and I was suddenly wheezing and I was kind of like, right, this is fitting the symptoms that had been kind of released. I didn't panic. I was just like, okay, here we go. This could be coronavirus. And I went on the NHS 111 service on the computer, and they had like a questionnaire thing that you run through, and it was basically trying to eke out who possibly did have coronavirus and who didn't, and who needed to speak to a medical professional. That was like the main thing, because they were so overrun even at that point. So I did that, and it told me to call 111 and to speak to a health professional. So I picked up the phone and called 111, and to be fair, I don't think I was on hold that long at that point. I can't remember it being particularly long, but this was kind of 10 o'clock at night by this stage, and I got through to someone and they were like, yes, we need to make sure a doctor contacts you. They said to me a health professional would call me back within, I think it was 2 hours that they said to me initially, and was like, yeah, no, it's fine. So that would have been about midnight. I would have expected a call back, or 12:30 at night. We were waiting, and it being a Sunday night, on the Monday we would have, like, I would have been working from home, Scott would have been going into work. So I said to Scott, look, you go to bed, I'm okay, if I do need you I'll wake you up, it's fine, because we needed to wait for the phone call. And I got a phone call at 1 o'clock in the morning saying, we understand that you do need to speak to a doctor, you are on the list, you are a priority to be spoken to, however we are dealing with a massive influx of calls, so the doctor will call you back tonight. Although it's like 3 hours later now, they will call you back, we promise. I was like, no, that's fine, I completely understand. You know, I wasn't in a like life-threatening situation, I was managing to breathe okay and stuff, so that was fine. I was like, yeah, that's fine, I'll wait. And all I wanted to do was get some sleep. I was in pain with the breathing. I finally got a call back at, it was about 4:15 in the morning, and I went through what happened with the doctor, that I literally had been sitting there, I coughed once, and then that was the point. My throat was sore from the coughing, but I didn't have a sore throat, so my voice was starting to already be a little bit affected, but it wasn't a sore throat, it was just sore because of the amount of coughing I was doing. I had this wheeze that was, I was kind of squeaking as I breathed, and this pain, and I explained this to a doctor, and he said to me, look, this is so new, every single case that we are hearing about, we are learning new things minute by minute. We don't have the ability to test you right now, however everything that you are telling me tells me that you do have COVID-19. I was like, okay then, that's the situation, thank you, like, good luck. I wished him luck, because, you know, this was 4:30 in the morning, that guy's probably been working throughout the night dealing with all these issues, and as he said, it was so new, with the like, people don't understand it at that point. I thank God for the NHS and for the doctors and the nurses and everyone involved doing such a sterling job taking care of the people who have had or have got COVID-19. And I got off the phone to him and I did no more. I climbed into bed. It was, you know, ridiculous time in the morning by that point, so I just got into bed. Okay, so Scott was working from home the next couple of days, because his work had done this thing where they were swapping who was going in and when, so they all avoided each other. So he was working from home the next day. So he was home and I was like, yes, I've got it, which meant that he then had to start 14 days quarantine. And we needed paracetamol because didn't have any. I called the pharmacy around the corner and asked them if they did have any paracetamol in supply, and they told me no. I explained the situation, that the doctor had diagnosed me with COVID-19 and that I needed to start taking paracetamol. And then she was like, oh, we do have paracetamol, but it has to be on prescription. So phone the doctors, get a prescription, and then we'll fill the prescription for you. So I called the doctors, got all that done, and my niece went and picked up my prescription for me and then left it on the doorstep for Scott to pick up, and so I could start taking the paracetamol. At this point, the coughing, it wasn't like a cough, 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 cough. It was a cough, 5 minutes later, cough, cough, 5 minutes later, cough, cough again. But the wheezing was always present. And now, even breathing, I couldn't take a full breath in like that. I couldn't get to that point where you're like, oh, I'm full of breath. And every breath that I took, that stabbing pain, it was like it was burning into my lung. I had a pain that ran from here right down because of every time I breathed, it was there. I stayed in bed and carried on taking the paracetamol every few hours. I was drinking lots of water. Scott was feeding me healthy food and all those things that we'd been told to do. We were monitoring everything because at that point we didn't have a thermometer, so couldn't take the temperature, but I was hot. I was really hot. So I assume I was running a temperature, and I stayed in bed. And by the Friday, I had just about had enough. My breathing hadn't worsened, but the pain had got to me. I couldn't handle the pain any longer. So I phoned my GP surgery and I spoke to my GP, and once again I had to go through all the symptoms I had, and he then said, you have COVID-19 by the information you have given us. The diagnosis we have for you is COVID-19. What he said to me was he was going to give me a steroid inhaler to try and ease the lung pain, and it came with a chamber, and he explained over the telephone how I was to use this. And then he gave me some antibiotics because he said if there was any other underlying infections as well that were not helping the situation, the antibiotics would kind of clear that. So that would like move something out of the way. My sister then kindly went to the pharmacy for me and picked up the inhaler and the antibiotics and things and left them on my doorstep for me because as Scott couldn't go out, he was quarantined, and I was too ill to go out. So I started to take the inhaler, and it helped with the wheezing a little bit, but it didn't help with the lung pain. I was taking it every 6 hours, the inhaler, and every 4 hours was the paracetamol, and it was rough. It was rough. During the time of me being unwell, I did post a couple of pictures, I think, to Instagram, and I posted a video as well. So I'm going to insert that here so you can kind of see and hear the state of me at that time.
Do us all a favour. Stop going out unless you have to. Stay indoors. Send one person out for shopping. Wash your hands. Keep clean. Keep eating healthy. Stop being next to each other. Social distancing. I'm not well. I'm trying my best to get through this, but there's people out there being knobheads. God bless the NHS. God bless those people who are keeping us going, who work in the supermarkets and things like that you don't think of. You're my hero. Thank you. And everyone else, stay safe.
Saturday, so I'd been ill since the previous Sunday, so I'd been ill for a week. I had made it to the sofa to watch some films with Scott rather than being in the bedroom, and we were just there watching films, and something that the doctor had told me, the very first doctor, was about how I would know whether my breathing had changed. And I was laying there watching this film and the way I was breathing started changing, And I was like, okay, try not to panic, think about this. The doctor had said monitor it. An hour later, the way I was breathing had changed again and I was starting to struggle. And then an hour later, I was struggling even more. And I said to Scott, phone urgent care centre, I think I need to go there. He called the urgent care centre because that was the advice we'd been given the week before, and they were like, no, don't bring her here, you've got to phone 111. And at this point I am struggling to breathe. Scott phoned 111 and he was on hold, and it was like 10 minutes and he was still on hold and he hadn't spoken to anyone, and I was at this point really gasping for breath, and I was just like, please just phone 999. I can't, like, we can't wait. I was panicking at this stage. I couldn't breathe. I really couldn't catch a breath. God, don't cry. Sorry about this. I tried to not get teary, but it was quite harrowing, so it's my reality. The ambulance arrived within 10 minutes. That was, God bless the NHS and everyone who works for them. No matter what your role is, it is important. So the ambulance arrived within 10 minutes and the paramedic who came in was in full PPE, and I explained everything to her and I was trying to catch my breath and we were going through things, and thankfully she got my breathing under control, because it wasn't the COVID-19 that was affecting my breathing. I'd started to hyperventilate because I couldn't catch a breath with COVID-19, but it was hyperventilating rather than COVID making my lungs and things so bad that I couldn't breathe anymore. Thankfully, she got my breathing under control and she was like, bed, you have got to go to bed. Prop yourself up with as many like pillows and cushions, like even try sleeping sitting up if you can, but you stay in bed. The paramedic was then going through, was I using the inhaler correctly, and I explained that the doctor had told me how to use it, and she was like, oh, thank God that you've actually been using it properly. And then she also reconfirmed that although testing wasn't available, because at this point it was only available if you were taken into hospital, I did indeed have COVID-19. And then she went on to ask Scott a few questions to see if he had any symptoms, and thankfully he didn't. They went, I got into bed, and that is where I stayed for days. And I was severely fatigued. I was so tired as well, and although I was sleeping quite a lot, I always was tired. I never felt refreshed from the sleep. The constant wheezing, the constant pain of feeling like someone was stabbing me in the lung, and that like line of pain was just there. And that's how I was from the day I got sick, 11 days. And then one day I just turned a corner. I stopped coughing. And although, as I said earlier, it hadn't been all the time, it was just like every 5 minutes I have a cough and stuff. I just stopped coughing unless I got out of breath. Even when I was feeling better, I still couldn't take a full breath in, and if I was talking for a little while I would get really breathless. I sounded so unfit, and that slowly started going. However, this line of pain just remained. It remained for around 4 weeks, I would say. And even now, I am getting breathless at things that I wouldn't get breathless at usually. I did have a bit of a psychological breakdown in some senses after I'd started my recovery. I think the situation of how I thought when I got better, I thought I would be like, I've had COVID-19, the symptoms has all stopped, and then like a day or two later, I'd be back to normal, like you are when you kind of have a cold or something like that. I was in the bath and I was still having this pain and I was still so tired, but I'd turned that corner and I just started crying and I could not stop crying. And I think it was kind of mentally, I'd just been focused on the take each day at a time, don't panic, don't panic, don't panic all that time. And then once it was over and I stopped telling myself don't panic because I hadn't needed to anymore, the severity of what could have been, and also like the journey I'd just gone through, and the fact that it was going to take a while to recover, just hit me like a ton of bricks. It really did. It was awful. I'm on the mend now. I'm just kind of taking each day at a time. I've had some really great days, and then I've had like this last week has been absolutely awful. Up until 2 days ago I couldn't walk and I was in a wheelchair because I've had such a massive ME crash, and I do wonder whether it's because of everything that's kind of happened to me. I want to take this moment to say thank you to Scott, who has cared for me, fed me, watered me and loved me every single step of the way, given me cuddles when I needed it, and just reassured me and supported me. I want to thank the NHS. I'm not sure how to end this video, I've got to be honest with you. At the moment, some of the restrictions have been lifted, but I just know that when the world gets back to normal and people can be in the same room again and to touch each other, I want to hug all my family. I think this generation will never ever take for granted what kind of freedom we have. I hope you've enjoyed listening to my story today. Enjoyed might not be the right word, and I will see you again very soon for another video. Please like this video and subscribe to my channel. I know it seems like such a small target, but I would love to reach 100 subscribers soon. That would be just absolutely magical. I do try to upload every Saturday morning at 10:30 AM, and so I'll see you next Saturday for another video. Lots of love and take care of yourselves. Mwah!